Amazing, beautiful, uh, fulfilling, grateful, gracious. Um, I've gone beyond my own expectations. By the time I turned 40 and I looked at the achievements I had thus far, I looked back and I was like, I never saw this in 20 years, and here we are. And because I started quite early. I think I was 20 when I started, putting my foot out there. Say, okay, let me do this, let me do that. And I'm 42 now. To my name, I have 8 movies, 15 music albums, a book, countless comedy concerts. I've traveled far and wide. I've raised a wonderful family. My daughter just got into secondary school. My new baby is entering school. So basically, the dream of being an all-round family man has been achieved. Okay, for me, it's God, family, and then any other thing that follows. So, and all of that has been done. So I'm never under pressure for anything. There's no conquest. I don't compete on any level. I'm my own competition. I strive to do better than myself every other time. So for me, God has been good. At the time, there weren't many options open to us at the time. And the only major option we had just blew us up. Okay, MBI was the youthful platform at the time. And the normalers were doing group voids. And then we were the only young people at the time trying to do something different from the park. NTA was starting not to be so youth-friendly anymore. There was nothing youthful. And it was just by chance, too, that I was given that opportunity to feature. I wasn't interested in fame. Till date, myself and my wife were not interested in fame. Yes, as much as I am an entertainer, I am an introvert. You catch me at home every time. As we speak, I'm supposed to be indoors. Wifey comes back, she meets me at home every day. There are 2 guys. There's Koffi Tha Guru, okay? We're 2 different people. When I come to the job, hey, everything's moving, all eyes open, go. But in the real me, I don't talk much, I don't even socialize, I don't relate, I'm just in my world. Yeah, I do that. That's part of Koffi Tha Guru's job, okay? And okay, Papi Patron, Kukuru Boss, Jack of one trade, Dynamite, all those guys, all packed in one guy, Koffi Tha Guru, yeah. Candyman, I'll do all of that. But when I switch back to Emmanuel, that's me on my own daily. Yeah. I'm just, I could sit with you for 1 hour and you'll be like, and he calls himself a comedian. So boring. But that's me. It helps me sanitize. It makes me sane. So that time, when we saw the first episode of Twilight Zone, before then, my girlfriend and I, which is my wife, we dated for 7 years. So she had been in support of all my theater moves and everything, my stand-up comedy gigs and all that. So we didn't plan for TV, we didn't see television. But my character from a stage play was so powerful. KP said, Koffi, we need you to come and play Dauda on screen. I dodged them for like 3 times. Eventually she was like, and then I went, killed it. That's the time they will use now. If there was social media then, the trend would have been global, So I introduced something different to the sitcom at the time. I don't think I did more than 4 or 5 episodes, and those episodes remained classics. So the character comes in every time, people are like, wow, this guy is here. The character comes in every time, wow, this guy is here. And I brought a lot of language, a lot of ideas, so it just caught people's attention. And then I migrated quickly from there to the next level because I didn't want to be in a box. Nigerians like to put you in a box. If they know you as a particular character, they want you to be that for life, and I didn't want that. So immediately, I started introducing the stand-up guy constantly. I started doing the music comedian and all that, so that they would see other elements, so that they don't just put me in a Dauda box. And then everywhere. In fact, there was an event a few months later that I went to, and they were introducing me as Dauda. Meanwhile, Dauda, the comedian, was also there, so I had to keep telling them, I am not Dauda. Fortunately for me, Dauda was there. I said, that is Dauda, I am Koffi. Don't put me in a box. They do that a lot for the Yoruba comedians, Mr. Latin, Baba Suwe and all that. No, I am not like that. I am a lot more on the comedy side than just a drama, funny guy. So that blew up, and then I took it up from there. The people who are producing the new television programs are just after the money, and then they just want to paint, find pictures, and then, you know, I'll use my own as an example. My new movie, Mumbo Jumbo, most of the people who came to the premiere, they were in awe, like, we can relate to this. This is actually true. So most of the stories out there are not exactly a reflection of the realities on ground. They just make believe, you know, they want to copy Western, you know, okay, Kim Kardashian kind of thing, let's do a reality too, you know. They just want to paint rosy pictures that, you know, there are stories that you can tell. Some people are actually telling those stories, but they are not in the forefront of the major, you know, media push. They are not the ones you're seeing all the time. They are still under there. People are not really exposing them. So some people are still telling the stories. But the major thing, the major vibe that the culture they are selling to the young ones is to Americanize or Britishize them. Okay, so, and I think that's where we're having the problem. If a lot more people can be allowed to tell relatable stories and not just constant case stories. By that I mean, there's a season, wedding stories are every movie. There's a season, all the stories are about cheating. There are stories that go beyond all these subject matters. So we're supposed to be able to, as we speak, there is no high school movie. Now, Sugar does not exactly reflect everything that happens here. It's more of the South African kind of, you know, and then they're trying to, you know, one thing about some of those content is they try to force it in, like, okay, this is what, and then sometimes when we're trying to shoot things that are real, if you check in Mumbo Jumbo, I'm sweating in one scene. If it was those people that produced it, there will be no sweat in that scene. There must be no sweat. And I'm like, in real life, somebody is jogging and you will not see sweat. How is that possible? So for me, I think we should tone down on fine pictures, but real content. Okay, we're having better equipment, we're having better pictures, but we're losing the stories. Okay, that's why you see a lot of people on social media now, they are yearning for all those old Nollywood movies. There's a high demand for them. If you go on YouTube, that's what people are watching the most. You know, because these new pictures and stories are not relatable. People just pack themselves in one environment and shoot from room to room, cupboard to cupboard, kitchen to parlor. You know, it's not real. I'm shooting a movie right there in Obalende very soon, somewhere there in the nitty-gritty ghetto of Obalende, in the barracks, where you can relate. I'll bear the consequences, but somebody must be able to relate with it. That's why I like King of Boys. It went away from the norm, you know, because Kemi Adetiba has been working on some of those same pictures, but she went away from there, said, no, this one, we have to say it as it is. There's still some finesse to it, but you could feel the punch, because you could relate with it that, yes, indeed, our society is running these vendettas, is running all these lethal plans, all these things are happening in the political circle. So a lot of these stories, Tunde Kelani used to tell a lot of those stories from the ethnic end. Kunle Afolayan now took it up to some level as well. So we should tell good stories and not, Oyibo people will just use a camera phone and tell a good story. It's not about the technicals, but the story. Some of the best stories that won awards at the Oscars were stories that were far away from norm. You know, Pineapple Express. You're seeing this guy, who's the Branco, what's that boy's name? He's winning an award for being in a cave for how many hours, you know, stuck up there. He's winning best Oscar for that. If it was a Nigerian that did that movie, I applied to a platform to take on distribution for Mumbo Jumbo. They said it was too intelligent. This is 2019 and somebody says the movie is too intelligent. And that just goes to tell you what we're feeding the young generation. Yeah, that's what they told me. I can say that anywhere. Yeah, you said the movie is too, you know, it's too, you know, you wanted something dumb for the audience all the time. Junk, junk, junk. And for me, I can't raise my kids like that, you know. It's not demand and supply. It is what you constantly supply that becomes the demand. You know, if you supply junk music, it's, you know, there was a time that music had certain, but after a while, people, take for instance, there was a time that Nollywood was doing so well with its own stories. until certain investors came in and decided who and who should be in movies. That was where the downfall started from. So that first generation crumbled. Now there's a new alignment. The ones that have now come up with movies that can now go to cinemas and blah, blah, blah. But in all reality, still those stories and those pictures can still not cross over to international waters because the stories are not relatable. You know, we should be able to tell very simple African stories that have depth and people can feel it. You will watch a Russian movie, you will watch a Chinese movie, and you'll be like, yeah, you can relate with it without having to understand the language. I've been watching a lot of Spanish movies, a lot on Netflix. I can't hear what they're saying. I'm just reading the subtitles, but I can picture it. I can flow with it. As much as some of them will borrow American ideas, you'll still see elements of their culture in it. You know, so we can do these things. We should just move away from the commercialization of movies. Yes, the investors need to make money. Returns need to be made, but please have a conscience alongside so that you don't lose this, because if this generation keeps watching those movies, that's what they will improve on. Yes. And that's what's happening. You know, if they are seeing these storylines, they will only improve on those storylines. That's why what they see of Nollywood is juju, because those were the first things those people were portraying, and the following writers were writing along those lines. Now the new writers are writing along the lines that they are seeing constantly. There was a season, all the billboards in Lagos was just showing movies about love and betrayal, wedding, and everything. That season was just, you know, it just didn't make sense after a while. Nobody's trying to tell a story about, you know, the everyday hustle of an undergraduate. You know, there are a lot of young people out here who don't have jobs. Nobody's telling those stories. You know, there are a lot of police brutality issues. Nobody's shooting those. You know, the SARS issue has been going on back to back, and nobody's making movies around that constantly. The few ones who make it on the down low are not being pushed up. If you check the Yoruba sector, they make a lot of movies on subject matters, but they are still being seen as, you know. Till date, we don't have a movie about Nnamdi Azikiwe. We don't have a movie about Tafawa Balewa. We don't have a movie about Awolowo. You know, we're losing a lot in this. We'll be here. It's still an Oyibo man that will come and shoot a movie about Muritala Muhammad. And you see, the landmarks are still there for you to shoot them. The former secretariat is abandoned. You can cast people around there. The landmark where Muritala was shot and killed is right there. You can reenact the scenario and shoot it right there. You own the landmark. It's right next to the census board. The place where Muritala Muhammad was killed is right. The car he was killed in is right at the museum. Just take the car back, pimp it up, and then shoot that movie. Show how Muritala Muhammad was killed. You know, we have actors who look like him. We have people who look like Dimka. We have Obasanjo who can still give you in-depth analysis about how it happened. Dodam Barracks is still here. So I'm looking at all of us like, what exactly are we doing? If I was capable enough, I would do a lot of these things.